Hello, my friends. Welcome to a special episode about spinning and specifically about how I spin. Because as we all know, there's so many different ways and everybody has their own preferences, and so do I. And I wanted to start off by showing you what I have lined up for me to spin and how I keep my spinning fibers. They are very not very pretty, in bins which are sealed. They have a little cushion here, and what I showed you now is the bin with 13 ounces of a blend of alpaca and New Mexico Rambouillet. So that's about 370 grams. So I hope that eventually I will be able to get a garment from all of this. I just recently finished these bats on the drum carder, and what I had done is I had made little bundles where I combined the different colors that I used to create the bats, and this is how they look like. Here you see the colors more, and yeah, I have not spun a sample of this. I will do that once I'm ready to actually spin the whole box with all the bats. When I spin from a bat like this, I take off a strip of the fibers at the edge like this, and this is what I spin from. And I know that there's a side that will be better for starting. One side's going to be better than the other, and I forgot because I haven't spun from any of my bats in quite a long time. So I will just try that out. Yeah, so that's this one box with the bats. I'm going to do that differently so I can see that right away. And then I have another box right here next to me. As I told you recently, I have gone through my boxes, my bins, my spinning fiber stash, and the other box, you're gonna laugh. Sorry, this is heavy. Mine just went. So this is nothing that I would put in the shop for various reasons. And like there's off amounts in this bin, and or I just recently got a very sweet gift of this giant braid, 8 ounces, and I have, you want to see it, right? This is the last of my New Mexico Rambouillet, which I combined in this bag, and this is some Suri alpaca blend. I think I showed you this before. Sorry, this is noisy. This is a little bit over 7 ounces of a 90-10 Romney Angora blend. And there's other fibers in here that were gifted to me, or here I was thinking about making socks for my son in a special camouflage inspired colorway. And this also was a gift. This is the very last of my New Mexico Rambouillet, which will not in color work with this, so it's going to be a separate spin. And there's also this. So now you've seen what's in this box, or a lot of that. Here's one more braid. I do not know. Oh, I think I wanted to keep this separate because it's the last one of my superwash merino. So I did plan on spinning that up myself. But now I wanted to talk a little bit more in detail about the yarn that I am spinning for the body of this sweater. I want to make this sweater for the High Desert Studio Tour, which will happen on December 3rd, as you may recall. And I will make the sweater, that's my goal. But for the body, I did not have any suitable yarn, and so I thought, hey, I'm gonna spin something that's gonna be fabulous. And I have decided to use, let me rearrange a little bit. I have decided to use some BFL Silk Blend, and I set aside 3 braids for myself, and those are these. Hold on, I'm gonna turn the other side. It's gonna be a little better to see. Just lovely, lovely colors, as you can imagine. It's gonna be great for me. And I'm planning to use the bright orange hand spun. I showed you before in another episode, and it will come back for the flowers. And I already dyed up a green, melange green for the leaves and all the other crochet elements. But the body, I thought, wow, I need something special. So this is my 3rd braid. And what I usually do, and I will also tell you why, is that I open the braid and I divide it in half. I split it in the middle. Let me show you how. Because now I can assume that this is about the same weight. The fibers are so long that it's hard to break. So you can safely assume that both of these are about the same weight. And now what I tend to do is one of these halves, I split maybe just once lengthwise, but the other one I split maybe 3 or even 4 times lengthwise, and I will tell you why. So I usually split it in a spot where it wants to open up anyways. So in this case, of course, you see this is about 1/3. And say I split this in the middle. What happens now when I spin this is that the color repeats will happen more frequently when I spin this. And my goal is a 2-ply yarn. So when this is spun on the other bobbin, you can already know, you will know that the color repeats will be larger for this one, which means that the colors that change more frequently here will hit different colored sections here in a very different rhythm. It's kind of hard to explain, but what I like usually is when the same color meets, and I have these solid colored little elements in between. So, but it doesn't really happen if I only split it in half. Then eventually it's going to change and the red is going to meet the green and whatever. But if I do this and the colors change more frequently, I will continuously have little spots of my 2-ply yarn where the same color meets the same color. Yeah. And I have already said that I always spin a 2-ply yarn. And with this yarn, because the fiber, the staple length and the fiber in itself is so long that you cannot really start spinning right away, and it's essential to do some pre-drafting. That's what I always do. And you need to keep your fingers far apart or you can't do it. So this is how I'm going through it all before I actually can start spinning. And the last thing that I wanted to mention, if you are a fairly new spinner and you're like, you start spinning from one end of your braid and then you're like, oh my God, this is thick and thin and it should be nicer, it should be more uniform. Why isn't it? Just turn your fibers around and start spinning from the other end. It may actually be much easier to draft from that other end. Yeah, so that is it. This is the way I usually deal with fibers, and I hope this was inspiring and helpful to you, and I will add on a little bit of, I will also film myself spinning a bit, so hopefully you can see how that works for me with this slippery and fiber and the long staple length. I do a short backward draw. I think that's what you would call it. I hope you'll enjoy.